So what's going on, guys? Dan from Pekoe.ca or Pekoe Mortgages. So today I want to talk a little bit. We're in December and we're just wrapping up 2021. Let's chat a little bit about what's happening here and what's happening in the U.S. So let's start off in the U.S. Federal Chairman Powell. We've got an issue going on with inflation. Not only inflation, but there is a high rate of unemployment. I think projections for 2021 are hitting 6.9, almost 7%, possibly over 7% unemployment. Those are big numbers, especially compared to this time last year. So what does that mean? Less people are working. Those that are working are demanding more income, which is completely understandable. But we also have high unemployment, we have high inflation. So with both of those going up, that leads to something called stagflation. And stagflation is a very dangerous place to be because essentially the higher the interest rates are and the higher the unemployment, we got to keep those things in check. And having both of those too high, the inflation becomes no longer transient or transitory, and the cost of everything, CPI, goes up, and it just becomes way more unaffordable. So the U.S. is dealing with a lot of that, and it's no different here north of the border. So we've got our own issues when it comes to unemployment, when it comes to inflation. The Bank of Canada had announced, look, we think the inflation is transitory, but now we're not too sure. And there are announcements and talks possibly of increasing the overnight lending rate next year a few times, 2, 3, even 4 times. But we have a few things at play that we weren't sort of dealing with. In fact, here in Ontario, we had an outbreak announced last week, or the first known cases of the COVID variant. Omicron variant, I think it's called. So what does that mean? We don't know possibly how that's going to play out, if there are going to be more shutdowns, lockdowns, or people are going to have to take time off of work. It's definitely something we're keeping an eye on here. Not only that, but shipping issues. We've had supply issues. It's plagued the U.S. It's plaguing us out in BC with the flooding and the wildfires, but especially the flooding has basically shut down the rail passage, and most of our stuff comes in from those Vancouver ports. So what does that do for the cost of goods? Well, they have to go up. And is that going up in the short term, or is that here to stay? We don't know. But most people are predicting the cost of a basket of groceries or a basket of goods is going up. That's kind of what's going on. Also, there is a summit that the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, has announced. So it's a housing affordability summit. Basically, we're getting all of the mayors together of the large municipalities to discuss some of the issues related around housing affordability and possibly come up with some answers. So hopefully they can address this. We know quite clearly there's a supply issue, and the supply is being outstripped by an unprecedented demand for affordable housing and housing in general. So obviously when things are not in equilibrium, we do have forces that will increase the price of homes. What's going on in 2022? I think we got to keep our pulse on things and keep an eye on what's going on globally. Macro scale, what's going on outside of Canada and how that affects things here at home in the economy. And more so, keep yourself flexible. And when I say flexible, sure, maybe some yoga, but also when it comes to your finances, don't over leverage yourself if you can. I know the holidays are coming up. People want to go out there and shop. So keep those credit cards in check. Because remember, the interest rate on a credit card is compounded in a very, I would say, unfair way compared to some of the other interests and how that's compounded. It's not monthly, it's not semi-annually, it's at a compounded daily for most credit cards. So it's an expensive way to give some cheer this season. So if you can, try to keep things at a minimum when it comes to spending. Don't spend more than you make. And also, if you're coming up for renewal and your mortgage is up next year, I would recommend trying to lock something in a little bit earlier. A lot of banks have a window where we can lock things in 60, 90, 120 days out. Might be a good idea to at least lock something in. It doesn't mean you're obligated to take it, but it's going to hedge you against any type of shifts upward on interest rates. So bond market, it's been going up quite steadily, which is reflected in higher fixed rate mortgages, and we've seen that across the board. In fact, before I left the office, there was another announcement. We get emails, right, from a lot of the lenders saying, hey, get your files in, rates are going up at midnight. So a lot of those have been going out quite frequently in the last week or so. So we're definitely seeing interest rates rising. And that could be a variety of reasons. It could be that the portfolio is pretty saturated and they're looking to kind of move people out of a certain product. But also the bond market, like I said, has gone up quite a bit. If we're talking about commercial mortgages and commercial bond yields, those have been increasing too. Had a little bit of fluctuation last week, but I think it's around 1.8 on a 5-year on the CMB side. So what does that translate into? If you've got a multifamily property, like an apartment complex, and you have a commercial mortgage, if you are doing a CMHC insured program, those rates are going to go up. You can't lock those rates in until closer to your closing date when CMHC issues that certificate. Just keep that in mind, that those rates are going to go up, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise there. Getting into 2022, keep yourself flexible. If you can, try to lock something in sooner rather than later. And what we're looking at right now is maximum flexibility. The ability to pivot, to make moves without locking yourself in is probably your best bet right now. I'm playing a wait and see approach as far as my portfolio goes. And if you guys have any questions or you want me to look over something, just reach out to me. Guys, you know how to find me. You can click the link below. You can follow the website. But I'm going to encourage you to share, like, and follow my page if you haven't yet. It really helps me out and helps me keep pushing out this content. So I appreciate it, guys. Hope you're having a good day, and I'll talk to you soon.